Hi guys, it's Millie and welcome to Let's Talk Personal Finance, the channel where we discuss how to make money and how to manage it. Note, none of my videos constitute as financial advice. If you're looking for financial advice, please speak to a certified financial advisor. In today's video, we will be talking about emergency funds. More specifically, what an emergency fund is, why you need an emergency fund, and how you can get your own emergency fund set up. So, what is an emergency fund? An emergency fund is a readily available source of assets or money that is set aside for unexpected and very often large expenses. An emergency fund creates a financial buffer that helps improve your financial security and keeps you afloat in times of need, without having to rely on credit cards or take out high interest loans. It is important to note that an emergency fund is strictly for emergencies. It's money that you set aside for unexpected expenses. It's not money that you set aside for a vacation or for a pair of shoes that you absolutely need to have. No, it's not money that you use for a business venture. You can save up for things like vacations and future business ventures using sinking funds. Now, I already have a video on sinking funds. I'll link it down somewhere, so do check it out. Another thing to note is that an emergency fund is not an investment. It is not a way of making money, rather, it is a form of insurance. It is important to keep this in mind because it'll help you best decide where to keep your emergency fund. But before we get into that, let us briefly discuss how you can actually set up your emergency fund. Experts suggest that everyone should have an emergency fund of between that covers 3 to 6 months of their monthly expenses. Now, in order to determine what this amount is for you, you need to accurately track how much money you actually use per month. Now, you can do this by budgeting and tracking your expenses for a couple of months so you have an accurate and realistic idea of how much money you use. I already have a video on budgeting and why you should budget, so I have it linked to this video. And I'll also be releasing a video that will go into detail about how you can better track your expenses. That video will be coming out in the next couple of weeks, so do subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on that video. Now that you have determined how much money you actually need to keep or save up for your emergency fund, you're probably thinking of where you should actually keep this money. Well, it is recommended to keep your emergency fund in a low-risk, non-volatile environment. Examples of such an environment include a basic accessible savings account, and I'm pretty sure every bank offers this. Or you could keep your money in a high interest savings account that is readily available. So I know that Time Bank offers this amazing savings account called Go Save, where you can earn between 4% interest per annum to 7% and earn up to 7%. So what's amazing about this account is that the amount of or the interest rate that you get is not dependent on the amount of money you have in those accounts, but rather it is dependent on the amount of time you keep your money in that account. So the longer you keep the longer you keep your money in that account, the higher your interest rate. Yeah, so it's a very, very good option. I use Time Bank. Now, bank accounts to stay away from are fixed deposit accounts. So a fixed deposit account is an account where an investor is given a fixed rate of interest, and they are required to keep their money in that account for a specified period of time that they have agreed to. Now, if you withdraw money prematurely, so before that time has elapsed, you will get penalized heavily. You'll get penalized maybe like 30, sometimes even 40% of the money that you put in, and this is not good for an emergency fund. You should also not put your emergency fund in a notice deposit account. So a notice deposit account is an account where you have to give a notice. So it can be a 7-day notice, 14-day notice, 60-day notice before you actually have access to your money. Now, the reason for not putting your money in a notice deposit account or even a fixed deposit account is that your money is not readily available. It's not accessible. And when emergencies occur, it's not like the emergency is going to hit you up and say, hey, in 14 days, this is going to happen, so be prepared. So things to take away from this video: firstly, you need an emergency fund. I feel like 2020, just this year alone, is enough reason to get people serious and serious about actually having an emergency fund. Another thing to take note of is that you need to keep your money in a low risk environment. So putting your emergency fund in stocks is probably not the best idea, because that's a very high risk or mid risk and very volatile environment. Another thing to take note is that your emergency fund should be readily available, because you will need to access it randomly and unexpectedly. So it needs to be in a place where you can just quickly, take money from it. Okay guys, so that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them down in the comment section as well. Yeah, so that's it. I hope you guys get serious about getting an emergency fund. Like, it's absolutely imperative. It's important. It's like a basic financial requirement that I feel like everyone should have. You should start. Even if you have 1,000 rands in your emergency fund, it's better than nothing. And remember, you're never too old or too young to talk about personal finance. Toodles!